Been cutting.
Well, good evening and welcome to Mountain Bears. I'm Aeson Knight, and of course, with me is Techy Joe. How are you, darlings?
Doing great, doing great. How are you this evening?
Oh, halfway evil and a little bit happy.
Oh, we're happy this evening. How so? How so?
Well, we've got the White House on lockdown.
Well, yeah. Well, now I'm also seeing that the lockdown may have been lifted. Like this is a very new story. There has been protesting around the White House. In response to what is going on in Minnesota.
Well, in response to what's going on in America. Now, I also saw an article that kind of pissed me the hell off.
Okay.
And that was the one that you shared to me about how the GBLT is being fussy over the riots. Queens, get your heels on, you idiots. That's how we started.
Oh, yeah. So, gotta love Matt. He actually is a friend of mine from college, and we have mentioned him on the show before, I do believe. And he did a lovely article pointing out that there are some, and it's not just, the LGBTQ community, but more importantly, the overall, world that makes this comparison out of, or more so makes it out that, the rioting is just not the way to go. It's only peaceful protest. You must be peaceful in your protest. That the gays have gained more through peaceful protests than they ever have through, violent protesting. And it's like, bitch, we have a damn parade every year to celebrate Stonewall riots.
Well, not only that, but we have not gained anything from peaceful protests. We didn't gain anything from peaceful protests for the AIDS. That's why ACT UP was began. We didn't gain anything peaceful in general. Peaceful protest doesn't get us anywhere except a lot of settling. Well, okay, we'll take that.
Yeah. Well, now I will say it's not that it's not gotten us anywhere. It has, in some instances, between peaceful protest and court cases, civil actions, has extended our rights, or at least pushed them in front of the Supreme Court to go, literally, to be rude, what the fuck is this shit?
Right.
But at the same time, no. When you really look at it, we would still be probably sitting in a barely move the needle world, but not for Stonewall. So, yeah, violent protest has its basis.
Yeah.
And it does eventually become necessary. When you look at how long the Civil Rights Act has been around, I don't know that anyone can't say, hi, we've tried being nonviolent, we've tried being quiet, and responsibly, respectfully, protesting the infringement of our rights. And we are from 1964/1965 to today. And while there was the original, change in rights, that's basically not changed much in how America has reacted. No. Like, I mean, it's incremental. There are incremental changes. There are, but still, when you look at, the world as a whole, at least within the U.S., the globalness of it, no, didn't really change a whole lot.
Yeah.
We still have racism. We still have racial violence. We still have a lot of issues.
Well, we have a lot of issues. We have first, let's start out with the racial issues. We still have people that are idiots. Welcome to West Virginia. Here's the areas you can't go in. Anything in red here, stay out of, or carry a gun.
Yeah.
We still have discrimination across the board is legal. You can leave on vacation on Friday, come back 2 weeks later from your honeymoon, be fired from your job, be terminated from your apartment or condo. You can still be, all this for who you married while you were on vacation.
Very true. Well, and then you have, even there's still even the groups of people that, I've heard the joke made that there's, like this nice racism, like racism light. That, to be fair, my grandmother had, which is, I don't have a problem with colored people. I just don't think that they should mix with people that are not their kind. And it's like, no, Memo, people only come in one kind. They're people or not people.
Right.
One of the two.
Right.
Like, pick one. Like, you basically just said out loud, you see this group of people as people and this group of people as not people.
Right.
Like, that's not how it works. And I think she and I got into that argument once, and she's like, well, that's not what I meant. Right. Well, what do you mean? When you say that? And what it ultimately was she felt bad for, it wasn't so much that her problem was with someone's race or even an interracial couple. She worked in the school systems, and to be fair, early days, in which kids who were biracial or multiracial went through a lot of crap. Yeah. And she just always felt so bad for those kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, but you're assigning the blame to the wrong people there.
Right.
Like, the problem isn't that these two people met, fell in love, and happened to have a different race. The problem is everyone else who thought it was okay to bully and beat up and mistreat that child and that couple for existing.
Right. Now, granted, we have to remember, when was my mom born?
It's sad you have to ask me.
I know she was 96 years old. She should be 100 this year.
Oh, my grandmother. Sorry. I thought you were asking me when your mother was born, and I'm like, that's just sad.
No, I know my mother's birthday. I can quote it mid-sleep.
All right. But no, my grandmother was born in 1919. I think the first time we ever had that conversation was back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And notably, different world. Even then, like, I will say we are incrementally better than then, but at this point, it's almost gotten more extreme. Like
insane.
Like the last holdouts in this, the last holdouts are getting more aggressive.
Well, that's because they're a dying breed and their history is coming out.
Yeah.
The things they clung to in the 50s wasn't factual. The things they clung to in the 40s wasn't factual.
Yeah. Well, and again, I had older parents.
Right.
And I know that even back in school, there was a situation. I had been, gotta love projects. And it was a 2-person project. I got paired up with a classmate of mine. And okay, cool. And we met at the library to work on this project. And that was the first time that my mother understood that Tyrone was not a white child.
Right.
It wasn't that Mom had an issue with it.
Right.
She didn't. But I got pulled to the side real quickly on that one afterwards. To make sure that I didn't say anything inappropriate, that I didn't do anything inappropriate, that I didn't make that child feel bad about anything. And by the way, don't tell your father.
Right.
Because he will not be happy. And I'm just sitting here going, what is the friggin' deal? Like, that, I think, for me, was the first time that I understood how, like, ugly racism could get.
Yeah.
And I was in elementary school. And I'm just sitting there like, this is bullshit.
Well, it's been bullshit.
Yeah. And I think a lot of, like, maybe Mom's fear was that maybe I had picked up some of the crap that Dad said. And I was like, no, I was already well aware that was crap. I'm got it, Mom. Got it.
Right.
Like, I do not need the speech right now. I've already figured out humans are humans. Like, that's it. Like, there's, you know, like, be respectful. People may have different, you know, cultural aspects of racial identity, but they're not different people. They're not like a different species.
Right. And it just blows my mind that we are now 100 years. We're coming on 100 years. Forward and looking at the culture, looking at the ridiculous of things, looking at how stuff has not changed. We have a policeman on multiple cameras killing somebody.
And isn't getting in anywhere of this that this is wrong. Like, this is screwed the hell up. Like, you know, like, I would think that somewhere in here, if you're just talking about an officer that overreacted to a situation, if you could even go there, in reviewing that footage, there should be an immediate, oh, okay, that was bad. That was very bad. That I way overreacted there to the situation in front of me. What's going on with this is more so like, well, you know, whatever.
Well, not only that, but this non-officer, sorry, he is not an officer.
Yeah, not anymore.
He shouldn't be an officer. He shouldn't have been an officer in 2008 when he almost killed a man.
Yeah. Well, and West Virginia has gone through, you know, in the last year, racial issues as well.
Yeah.
Technically, we went through this as a Nazi issue, with a Nazi salute. I'm filing that under racial.
It is.
Because it was multi-levels, but I'm filing it under racial, at least for this portion of the conversation. And yeah, this is the problem.
Yeah.
Like, West Virginia is reacting to this with state troopers, and we're having to go, okay, no. And we have part of our populace that's like, no, I don't get it. What's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem? You know? And it's like, this is the problem. This is what this leads to. This is what this looks like.
Yeah, but this is even larger than West Virginia. Twitter cannot even ban neo-Nazi complaints because they can't tell neo-Nazi from Republican comments.
Right. Ultimately, the Republican Party and the way that it's been working over the last few years, and many before it, no, you can't. There's been a lot of stoked racial tension.
All right.
Like, there is a very strong push to pull in an audience that is racist, or to develop an audience that is racist and then play upon those fears.
Well,
That
I
you
think
generate the racism and then you fuel it and then you take advantage of it.
Right. And it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous. Third-degree murder charges? No, first-degree murder charges.
Yeah. Well,
premeditated first-degree murder charges.
Right. And moreover and more importantly, hi, welcome to America. Afraid you weren't paying attention when there were peaceful lunch counter protests. There were peaceful kneeling protests. There have been a lot of peaceful protests. At this point, hi.
Yeah.
And guess what it's going to look like with school shootings in a few more years? How many more graduating classes are going to sit there and have to go to so many funerals before this is what gun violence in America leads to?
Especially insane guns.
Yes.
That aren't guns. Sorry, AK-57 are not guns.
Well, it's an AK-47 or an AR-15.
Both of them aren't guns.
Right.
They are not guns.
Yes.
Anything that fire more bullets than you can load into it is not a gun.
It is a killing machine. That is it. That is all it is built for. I could, to some degree, understand the enjoyment of going to a range and playing with one. About the same way I can understand enjoying an electric stapler. What? I have an office supply addiction. I'm just telling y'all now. That's what I'm admitting to on camera. I have an office supply addiction. And let me tell you, the first office that I had that had an electric stapler, you better believe I stapled everything. Because that is cooler than shit. When you can go through a stack of stuff and be like, chick, 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 the whole way through that stack, oh, that is a lovely experience. But no, that's it. It's a one-purpose machine. You're not putting anything on bulletin boards with it.
No.
It is an absolutely useless piece of equipment if you staple once in a blue moon.
Mm-hmm.
It is not going to help you in a home invasion.
No. Well, it might. Throwing, if the home invasion's
they weigh a lot. The electric staplers weigh a lot.
Okay.
I will say that. You could hurl that at someone and it will hurt them.
Yeah.
I don't know how it weighs that much. I really never understood that, but they weigh a ton. They're huge. They're a block. So yeah, it would hurt to get hit with one. But other than that, that's what I'm talking about with, automatic rifles or any automatic weapon is if you're trying to claim that you're using an assault rifle, more importantly, or any other automatic weapon, do you realize the Swiss cheese that your house is going to look like by the time you hit something?
Well, not only by the time you hit something, but the Swiss cheese in general when you got other people.
Yes. And not to mention that in doing that, a lot of gun deaths are related to mistaken identity, of not realizing that someone was in your home, of waking up and mistaking a situation. There is a lot of friendly fire accidents related to guns. That this is not the criminal invasion that you have been stoked and forced into believing occurs every day. This is your mother-in-law that you forgot was spending the night going to the kitchen at 3 a.m. because she wanted some more chicken. So now your mother-in-law, who could have been hit with a baseball bat and may have recovered nicely, has been cut in half with gunfire.
Well, not only that, but I am severely for sensible gun control.
Yeah.
Sensible gun training.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And reasonable availability of reasonable weapons.
yes.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. This military police force we have,
Mm-hmm.
they're wearing more armor than our officers did in Desert Storm.
Mm-hmm.
They're wearing more bodily armor against unarmed people
Mm-hmm.
than our military is wearing currently right now in Iraq.
But guess what? Protesters, when they show up at state capitals all across the country protesting the fact they can't get a haircut, don't get a police response.
Right. I know.
White men with assault rifles.
Right. They should have been arrested because weapons are not allowed on any federal property.
Mm-hmm.
Weapons are not allowed on any state property. Every one of them should have been arrested immediately.
But as we've seen again and again and again, at most, and I'm talking about Charlottesville, at most, what a white male rally or a white rally in general that turns riotous ends up being is very specific targeted arrests of people who were actually doing shit wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Forget all those people with guns in a public space. Forget all those people that were, threatening. We're just going to deal with the one that discharged and hit someone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I remember correctly, out of Charlottesville, they never did go after the guy that literally shot at a counter protester.
Right. Well, what gets
like
me,
that,
what gets me, and you see me go through this every time we have to go to the courthouse, I have to go pay taxes or whatever. I have to unload my purse or switch my purses.
Yes.
Okay. I own a gun that shoots 2 bullets.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have to reload. But if I forget to change my purse to go in and pay my property taxes, I'm getting 25 years.
Yeah. I don't know. You're white in America. You may not. You may be told, I think you need to go put that in the car, sir.
Mm-hmm. But again, point being is, what the hell?
Yeah.
What the hell?
No, I think very importantly is what I just said is more than likely what you're going to be told is, I think you need to go put that in the car, sir. Now, if you're black in America, or if you're a person of any other color in America, you are getting arrested. You will be dropped to the ground, and you will be arrested for a criminal offense. As a presumably or visually white male in America, or a white person in general in America, you're going to get told, I think you need to go put this in the car and come back. And even if you get angry about that and you get aggressive with those security guards, you are still very likely either not going to get arrested or survive being arrested.
Right.
Statistically, you are more likely to survive.
As long as you're not in one of the red counties in West Virginia.
Well, but again...
Yeah. But no, point blank. You go down to Logan County, you go to Oceana, because I forgot and went to Oceana, because I had to appear in court to deal with something that didn't even involve me.
Yeah.
Yeah. they weren't happy when I walked through, and they're like, no, we're taking that.
But again, you
Right.
survived that encounter.
True.
You did not get arrested, as far as I know.
No, I was escorted to the courtroom.
Hold on, continuing.
Yeah.
You were allowed to appear in court. You did not get arrested. You were escorted. But were you dropped to the ground and someone leaned on your neck?
No.
Okay. That's the difference. That is the key difference, because to those security guards, you mattered as a human being.
Right. Now, granted, this was in the 90s. Totally different matter back then. But, point being, today's times, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, this is not ridiculous for multiple reasons.
And not that I'm saying anyone should go test it, because no, bad way to, no, we don't play with that. But realistically, more than likely, if you showed up at that exact same courthouse today and did the exact same thing, you would be treated the exact same way.
Possibly.
Even with the fact that you have previously had an altercation with them.
Right.
Because again, as a white male or a presumably white male in the U.S., you're respected. Your right to gun ownership is respected.
To a point.
Okay.
To a point. Depending on if I'm alone or if I'm with you and how I talk.
That can be very true.
Because we have seen this repeatedly. We saw this morning. For those who don't know, we're replacing our heating system. We're in the midst of replacing our heating system. We're at the beginning stages of it, of getting estimates.
Yeah.
And we went through this when we done the bathroom remodel. We do this over and over again. Call them, talk to them. They come out to give us an estimate. We clearly tell them, this is what we want. These are the products we want. First of all, they hear my name and they assume that I'm ditzy and blonde and wear an apron every day.
Well, more importantly, your legal name, and we don't make a big deal about this on the show. So for those of you, this may be a small surprise. Aeson is not technically your legal first name.
Correct.
And so there is a legal name that does not sound to be of the gender you would commonly associate.
Right.
It's an older family name. There are many men named that. It's less common to run into them now.
Right.
Now it is a name more commonly associated with women. And usually what happens is people typically see your name and they immediately look for a woman, because that's all they know to do, is that's a gendered name. And so obviously they're looking for a woman. And then there's, that moment when they have said your name and you stand up and they keep looking for the woman that's going to stand up next to you with that name.
Right.
Only to have the sudden, like, oh, okay. And what we do believe happened today and has happened before is when he talks to one person who takes the name and everything else, they've already locked in on, oh, Male. Got it. Very male, very understanding that this is a male with a boy named Sue kind of moment. Or a boy named Kim moment. To then turn around and hand that data off, everyone else sees it and goes, oh, we're going out to see, this married couple. Like they've already set it up in their head. It's a whole thing. And then they get here and they see two men and they're kind of going, are you? Yes.
Yes.
It's like, already know this is not going to be a good encounter. Thanks. Got it. Let's keep moving. And it happens. I think the area where it gets me the most, at least humor-wise, is the places that just can't get it.
Right.
Like every person, like we have to train everyone in that office. Because every time, like I call in, and say, hi, I'm picking up, like I go to the pharmacy and I'm picking up your prescriptions. I'm going, I'm calling into your doctor's office. Okay, and when does she need an appointment? I'm like,
needs an appointment within the next week, honey, because damn it, my nails are killing me.
Well, but I typically go, look at the middle name.
Yeah.
That's the part I like doing to people. And what I've realized is people just think it's an unhyphenated double last name.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what to do anymore. I give up.
Well, my funnest experience with that is when I get called Mrs. Knight or Mrs. Arrington, and I don't even skip a beat.
Pretty much anymore.
Fucks with them every time.
Yes. It is. It's fun. But at the same time, and I've lost my train of thought now. So, yeah, at the same time, it is really frustrating.
Well, it's very frustrating because I even, in beneath all this, went back and checked their pricing. It's double
what it should. Well, it's higher than even the range for. Like, if we were in California and we were getting high-end equipment from a, high-priced company, this is over that.
Yeah.
This is over the typical range for that.
Right.
Even in a high-price market.
This is what I call white glove discrimination, white glove racism.
Well, and it very much can be. That is a lot of what we are seeing in the world. It's not all, ugly, violent, N-word this, F-word that.
Right.
In many ways, it is this kind of quiet racism.
Right.
In which we see it in home loans, we see it in employment, we see it in, there have also been studies that if you have names first or last that might hint at being a different race, being a different part of a different cultural group. If you have a Jewish sounding name, if you have a black sounding name, if you have a name that doesn't, meet with this, George and Martha apple pie worldview, then suddenly you can find yourself having more problems with employment, more problems with finding housing, and finding yourself in racism light.
Yeah.
It's not direct. It's not in your face. It's not punch you in the nose with it. But it's oh, well, here's your rate for car insurance.
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous. Here's your price for this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's ridiculous. And it's subtly going, we don't want to work with you.
Right. Very much so.
But if you'll pay that ridiculous amount, then we'll show up.
Uh-huh. And we'll do a shitty job at it.
Yeah. So there is some of that we're all encountering. And like it's a common feature of all discrimination, is what I'm trying to get at.
Oh yeah, it's a total discrimination in general with white, black, Romney, non-Romney. Unless you're Anglo-Saxon, don't care where you are, it's occurring, and it needs to stop in this damn culture.
All right, and since we are this far into the show, 36 minutes, can we just say hi to Alexandria? Hi, sorry we didn't mean to leave y'all out.
Yeah.
Sharon, hello. Yes, and racism is racism. It shouldn't happen at all. And discrimination is discrimination is discrimination, and oppression is oppression is oppression.
And oppression is oppression. It's ridiculous, it's tiring, and it's aggravating.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
And it's also one of those things that that we forget about. I mean, in general, unless we get into the situation in which we end up exposed as a couple, so to speak, exposed as a couple, we don't wear, in terms of skin color or in terms of clear and obvious, must be gay, on us.
Right.
You know, people of color don't often get a choice in the matter. As horrible as it is to say, is that some people at best get to be lighter complected and can racially pass. Ultimately creating a life of lies.
Right.
In which they allow people to assume what people assume. And enjoy the benefits of being assumed white. Which is also kind of where I was going with that, is sort of where you end up with on the Romney front.
Right.
Is in many ways you are assumed white. In many ways you are, but you are also part of a cultural group that has faced just as much hatred and discrimination.
Yeah.
And as long as you don't present as Romney,
right,
in any way, shape, or form, as long as you don't, outwardly declare it, you can pass, so to speak, as white.
Right.
Even though historically, that's not exactly true.
Yeah. It's far from true. If I'm not wearing a leather vest and, my head covering and that's why I get so aggravated when they go, oh, we want a fortune teller. Wear a fortune teller's outfit. Okay.
Yeah, you have some major issues with the, show up like what is it? Sorry, I can't think of the word. Basically, like you're calling up for a telegram.
Right.
Wear the outfit. And it's like, it's not an outfit. It's not the costume that I put on. And I don't appreciate it.
Right.
When it's like, let's make fun of this on top of, you're not going to take what I do for a living seriously.
Right. I love the women that still wear them.
Mm-hmm.
I get really annoyed when we've got pasty white women
Mm-hmm.
that dress in Hollywood Romney to do an event.
Yeah.
That's the same as doing blackface.
Very much it very much is.
Yeah.
Because when you're ultimately taking a stereotype and turning it into a costume, you're disrespecting an entire culture, race, religion, creed,
Yeah.
all of it. You know, and it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is highly disrespectful. And especially when you're doing it because it's funny to you.
Mm-hmm. Or it's cool. I just want to go, it ain't cool.
Yeah. There can be a lot of also within that light, so to speak, light racism. And I keep putting air quotes around that, and I'm not going to avoid that. For the simple reason that it's still racism, it's still bad. But I'm trying to separate it from like the head-on collision racism.
Mm-hmm.
That it is intended violence, it is intended hatred, it is intended.
Right.
Light racism to me falls into the category of like ignorant stupidity that hasn't been challenged.
Mm-hmm.
That it still creates as many problems,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think it always comes from the same place. Like it may have originated there and then it has been passed down and it became this weird assumption that, you know, that exists. That stereotype is just a legitimate thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't come from a place of hatred. It comes from a place of I've never challenged that idea.
Yeah. You know, it's like I have a major problem with neo-Nazis for two different reasons. And the leftover cultural inlines of the Nazis,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that we don't pay attention to. The stupid dress up like a gypsy bullcrap.
Mm-hmm.
No, ain't happy. Won't be happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, and then there's the micro versions of it.
Mm-hmm.
The one that got me, and the one I just sat there and I heard it come out of dude's mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And it was out of a friend couple of ours.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just such a natural part of his speech that he had never thought about until that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, he just blurted out, you know, yeah, and that dude totally gypped me. And I saw the look fleetingly across your face, like I'm not gonna say it, I'm not gonna say it, I'm not gonna say it, I'm gonna leave it alone, not gonna say it, not gonna say it, not gonna say it. And all I could do is just gasp.
Mm-hmm.
And it all of a sudden clicked for him.
Uh-huh.
Like I had never stopped to realize that that's what that was connected to.
Right.
That gyp someone and gypsy.
Uh-huh.
Oh God.
Yeah. Suddenly the dishes needed to get done.
Do what now?
Suddenly the dishes needed to get done.
Yeah, you went to go deal with that moment. And there was a conversation there. And it was the moment that on his face, you know how some people hit that like 5-year-old child moment?
Mm-hmm.
When like something clicks together in their brain and all of a sudden it makes sense and they realize they've run around their entire life saying this stupid thing
Mm-hmm.
without understanding it.
Right.
And that's where he was.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly didn't make the connection till this moment.
Mm-hmm.
But not for you audibly gasping as it's like, do you realize what you just said?
Mm-hmm.
Because I couldn't even get words out. I was just like, how do you not know what you just said? Like, are you that insensitive or are you that unaware?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and mentally, I couldn't get words out because I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking to you, and you're like, I have to go do dishes now. Like, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to bring it up. I'm going to let it pass. I'm going to go do dishes and calm down because I'm not going to ruin this evening by blowing up.
Yeah.
Because, and in further conversation, I think it was also for you, I don't think he knew what he said.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people say it and don't understand it.
Right.
And it's like, no, these go together. This is a thing. And what you're effectively saying in one word, gypped to you, relates to a racial or to a cultural stereotype.
Well, it actually relates to a stereotype that was used to criminalize my culture.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah. To criminalize it was used to take children away.
Mm-hmm.
Was used to force a imprinted lifestyle onto them.
Well, and deny employment, to profile and target, for criminal action.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of the hidden cultural struggle.
Yeah.
Like, it went for many decades as like this minor thing
Mm-hmm.
that just somehow floated below the surface.
Right.
But it never, kind of blew up into like high.
Right.
It just ultimately turned into having a society that became nomadic to escape persecution.
And in slavery.
Yes. But
Point blank.
yeah.
You know. And continues to do so.
Mm-hmm. But no, for me, it was that moment, and it was one of those, like, I feel so bad for him.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was the first time in his, I swear to God, it was a truthful, honest, I didn't know better.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that, like, double moment is on one side, I'm looking at you like, oh my God. And, like, Jesus Christ, really? This is where we're at. And looking at him like, I feel so bad for you.
Yeah.
That this has been part of your vocabulary, and there's no telling how many people you've offended over the years before you have the sudden realization of what you've been saying.
Right.
That, yeah, not cool, man. Not cool. Not cool.
Right.
But yeah.
Way not cool. But there's other things. Traveler's insurance.
Mm-hmm.
How an Irishman can have traveler's insurance is beyond my brain speed.
Okay.
Travelers, Ireland, Romney and Ireland are called travelers.
Yes.
Can't process it.
Yeah.
Cannot process the Redskins.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Well, and we still have a lot of racial stereotypes and a lot of negative racial stereotypes influencing, like, things as simple like school mascots.
Mm-hmm.
My parents went to a school in West Virginia, not the one in Virginia, Herndon High School. They were the Herndon High School Indians. Just like there were the Atlanta Braves, just like there was, and it was a lot of very horrible, ugly imagery used to depict groups.
Right.
It turned it into a costume. It turned it into a joke. It turned it into a mascot.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, Tony the Tiger is a mascot.
Yeah.
That is a costume. That is an anthropomorphication of an animal.
Right.
That is exaggerated and extreme.
Right.
When you start doing the same thing to groups of people,
Mm-hmm.
not cool.
Way not cool. Far from cool. Far from even closely cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we forget our history and start letting people rewrite it that don't know shit, it even gets worse.
You just ruined my life. I was so ready for that one.
Oh, okay.
I was going to be like, hi, rawr, rawr. There we go. Because that's all I can do with that. I have to make the sound.
Well, I know.
Yeah, it's required.
Yeah, it's like redheaded stepchild. Insulting. Do some research on that.
Mm-hmm. It can be. If you have a psychic question, we have begun taking those during Mountain Bears as well as Psychic Coffee Shop. Feel free to slide it in. We may be a couple minutes getting to it, but we will certainly do psychic readings during the shows. Remember, we need a date of birth and your question.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm assuming we accept rawr, rawr, as a name, right?
Okay. Reading for us isn't a question, and we need a birth date, rah-rah.
Yeah.
For one of you.
At least one.
Make the lawyers happy.
Oh, yeah. All right. 726.94. All righty. And typically, Aeson works with questions, not with general readings. We do like to keep things peppy.
Nah, yours is good.
Okay, so I'm starting to get a feeling, is this in regards to like a compatibility? Like, where's the relationship going? Is this long term? How does he feel? There you go. That's the question.
Yes, there we go. Now we got something to work with here, because, I don't think you want me to be looking at it and going, well, he needs more water and you need more sleep, because that's what a reading for us pops up.
Hi, Brochet. Did I get that anywhere near close?
All right.
I took a stab.
He sees you as someone that has a lot of authority, a lot of comfortability. He really likes to pull you together. He also sees you as someone very diplomatic. He has a lot of desire, a lot of interest to get comfortable with you. And I also feel like that there is travel or distance with the two of you, and one of you is going to have to be traveling that direction. Okay? I do also, looking directly at you, think that you're going to be getting a different financial situation. I'd say that's probably within the next 6 weeks. So something money-wise is going your way. Okay? So as the two of you moving forward, I would take it slow. I feel like he's a little gun-shy, but he has a lot of respect and a lot of desire for you.
So someone going to be moving there? Like, who's going which direction?
Well, he's traveling to her, so that's a good thing, because he isn't happy where he's at.
Okay.
Yep.
Very excited about the money. I understand.
Yeah. And just to pop back up here to Sharon's question, I don't care if they are watching with them. No, it isn't. It isn't. It's one of the cities that Aeson has said that if he goes there, he has to wear black. Not only because of the situation currently, but also just because the city in general is dirty. People are aggravating, and it's just like too much emotion. That's one of those. No, we're not going to go do the fun thing. I'm landing during the event, and you're getting my ass out of there.
Mm-hmm. Oh goodness.
Okay.
I don't know. I think a lot of people have a obsession with New York and how wonderful it is. I heard a comedian recently. I believe, if I remember correctly, because I was watching a lot of comedians. I think it was Dulce was making the comment that she absolutely hates New York. And like when you say that in front of New Yorkers, it's like they all turn like robots and like, New York is the greatest city in the world. Like they're getting beamed down from the mothership. Like they're all like
yeah. But Brachet, I think you're in a good relationship. I think it'll be opening up better. The financial worries will be kind of stepping away, so you'll be able to get more comfortable. Oh, it's past expensive. That's the only place I've ever paid $15 for a pack of cigarettes.
It is expensive. It's not just it seems expensive. It is expensive.
It is.
There is nothing cheap there.
Expensive.
And from other New Yorker friends that have moved south, like, gonna tell you now, if you start coming out of New York, it does get almost laughable.
Yeah.
It's like 150,000. You get a whole house property and all this stuff. Like, are you kidding me? Like, we pay that in rent a year.
Yeah. Don't worry about that one, honey, because she ain't even showing up.
Apparently that's over. Or will be soon.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, moving on to other topics, and this one's going to be a fun one because I get to talk to Super Doc again.
Ooh, yes.
And this is probably going to be the last one, the most I've talked to my Super Doc in years. I'm tend to be a 6 months to once a year visit, if that, and I'll take him a fruit basket. But yet again, another medication. First, Zantac was recalled for its contaminants. Now, metformin is under recall.
Yep.
This is majorly important because metformin is one of the largest prescription drugs for diabetes.
That it is, because it is also one of the least expensive under insurance, and it is the basic standard treatment. Because everything else you're going to take for diabetes is going to be super expensive.
Yeah. Although I'm going to ask him real cutely, can I have the lizard blood?
Oh, good Lord.
It's either lizard blood or lizard spit. One of the two. I can't remember.
You're going to abuse poor lizards.
Hey, they're in the league right now with rabbits.
Oh, good Lord. I've realized as a farmer, our dear sweet Aeson is Elmer Fudd. I make reasonable suggestions about controlling the rabbit that is apparently attacking his garden. All he can keep saying is he wants a shotgun. So all I can say at that is, let's get you the little ear flap cap and be like, shh, be very, very quiet. I'm hunting for rabbit.
Or construction workers.
No, you're not hunting for construction workers. Not like that. Anyway, moving right along. That is not how we hunt for construction workers. We hunt for construction workers like the Coke commercials.
As long as it's not the Pepsi commercials.
Did Pepsi do a rip on that?
No, they done the Kardashian one where she goes and gets a Diet Coke and hands it to a police officer. Did we forget?
Ew. 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 No. Ew.
No.
No.
Like, I am surprised that Pepsi Cola is even sold in some places now because of that commercial.
I'm more so surprised that Pepsi is still alive.
Well, it's only alive because Joan Crawford pulled that company from the brink of existence, launched Mountain Dew.
Well, it's been an ugly history for them. But they're still here.
Slowly.
Not that Coke's had a great history either, but, I mean, let us never forget New Coke.
Well, New Coke was an experiment to please the FDA.
Well, yeah. No. New Coke was just a bad idea.
Yeah, I think we should go back to the original recipe. I think the country would be a lot more happier. And we'd get more things done.
No. 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 Not a good life plan. But yeah, if anyone else has questions, feel free, drop them in. We will take those on.
Yep. Just remember, we don't do general.
Nope. No generals.
No
questions. We love the questions.
General unless you're in front of me and you want a 45-minute reading and 3 decks ready to go.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Because it takes a while. However, you know, I find it interesting that the White House went under shutdown. The Obama administration for 8 years had protesters in front of the White House protesting everything the poor man done, including the suit. And they never went under lockdown.
Yeah, it kind of tells you everything you need to know about our country when white protesters in front of the White House with guns is not really an issue, but the first time a large group of people of color show up, we got to lock this down.
Yeah.
That's basically, welcome to America. This is what we're dealing with.
Well, and then we have to go into it a little bit farther. When I say farther, we're lurking at free speech problems. We have a government trying to exercise, in general, social media.
Well, we have a government that has been... Well, we have a government that has been abusing social media, and call it what it is. It's an abuse of social media. It is an abuse of targeted ads. It is an abuse of the entire concept of freedom of speech.
Right.
To spread misinformation, disinformation, and propaganda.
Right.
And as well as targeted attacks.
Right.
Against anyone and everyone who is especially crosses this president's path.
Right.
It is, quite frankly, at this point, if our president, well, not ours, but if the president were anyone else, his account would have already been shut down.
Yes. Maybe the day after he leaves presidency, they can shut it down because then it'll no longer be official record.
Communication, correct.
Yeah.
Well, and moreover, just the reality that we have a president who is not just in general engaging social media. That was a big part of, the Obama campaign and presidency.
Right.
We have a president who's effectively, you have to follow his Twitter in order to know what he's doing
with
our country.
Mm-hmm.
then you get blocked and you are effectively out of the loop.
Well, and technically he can't block anybody currently. With that being said, however, there is now a call to tag and fill his Twitter with Obama pictures on his birthday.
Oh.
And I think we should do a who wore it better picture. Like, let's find a picture of Obama in his on his re-election campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And post them on who wore it better, tagging the official Trump, because he didn't take on the presidency's Twitter. He took on the Trump Twitter. He kept his Trump Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Let's fill his freaking feed up with them.
Pretty much. It would be lovely.
Right.
Absolutely.
You know, I think that it would just be much more.
What would? Sorry.
Filling his feed up with Obama quotes, filling his feed up with Obama pictures.
Yeah, because I know personally at this point, I have not had a president since 2016.
Yeah.
No thanks. Not.
We're continuing to see.
And I say that specifically. I'm not a multinational corporation. I am not a billionaire, millionaire, trillionaire.
Mm-hmm.
I am not. I'm no longer part of this country. As far as this president's concerned, I don't matter. My life does not matter. We have seen that throughout the epidemic response.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you are, a Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos of the world, you don't matter to this president at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he seems to vaguely get that, like, he needs your vote, but that's about it.
Well, I don't even and here's the problem, though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Bill Gates matters to him. I said, give them $2,000 a month. Print the damn corn. I will deliver the gold.
Mm-hmm. Well, true. But at this point, though, in terms of people that his policies and his actions are intended to benefit,
mm-hmm.
that's the level of person
mm-hmm.
To qualify for personhood under this president. Everyone else is just garbage.
Right. And expendable.
Yes. We are all foot soldiers for the rich under this president.
Yeah.
Like, we're not represented in any positive way.
Mm-hmm. Not at all. Anywhere in the government until we get to the House.
Mm-hmm.
He shreds CDC recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
He has his little puppet from Kentucky stop a bill to stabilize our economy because it didn't feature any tax cuts for Social Security.
Well, tax cuts for it was the payroll tax he wanted to get rid of that would directly defund Social Security.
Right.
Yeah. Effectively, the pandemic is being exploited to effectively be Christmas for Republicans.
Right.
Like, this is conservative Christmas, is austerity. Is we are going to trash, hack, and slash every single government program we can that doesn't benefit a millionaire, billionaire, or a trillionaire.
Right. We need to fire every one of them in November. Vote blue across the board. Let's get our government back. And then maybe we can get some sensible shit done. And then we have, and to be all to end all, we have a news crew on live television
Mm-hmm.
arrested
Mm-hmm.
in this country in the middle of a riot. Really?
Mm-hmm.
You arrest a news crew? How stupid are you?
Well, and more importantly, the white reporter associated with them was able to walk away free and clear. No one found him suspicious. But ultimately, it's I can't imagine being governor in
Right.
Minnesota at that moment, because it's got to be just this like head slap
Right.
of like, can you illustrate the problem for the national audience
Mm-hmm.
who is watching this right now any more clearly
Right.
than that situation? Like, what do you say to that?
Right.
Like, you're sitting here trying to make the argument that, you know, you're not discriminatory, that you're not being unreasonable, that you're not using excessive force, that you're not targeting and profiling.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you just do?
Mm-hmm.
You ignored, you lied about, you did everything you could have possibly done to
Mm-hmm.
undermine any credibility to the defenses you've continuously thrown out.
Well, here's my advice to the governor of Minnesota. Put
Mm-hmm.
on your Aeson t-shirt, your Reeboks, and get your ass in the street. And if you got any sense, you'll grab that useless mayor who's trying to defend the officer,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll tell him he's firing every officer involved in this. He's firing himself. He's firing the police chief. He's putting every one of those officers through sensitivity training, through race ethics training. He's taking away their deadly forces, and he's putting them back in the streets, out of the cars, on the streets, talking to people.
Yeah. That's going to be a challenge right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately, when you're looking at this police force, and the problem that we have with police forces
Mm-hmm.
of any variety, and we saw that in West Virginia, and we saw that with state troopers, we
Mm-hmm.
saw that within the class that was ultimately across the board fired.
Mm-hmm.
Is that police forces become cohesive units.
Mm-hmm.
And once it's kind of this slippery slope concept.
Mm-hmm.
Is that once you make allowances for this and allowances for that and allowances for this other thing, racism and violence and misogyny and gay bashing, and once you do that as a group,
Mm-hmm.
it is very hard to take any one member of that group
Mm-hmm.
and go, all of your action is clean.
Mm-hmm. None of
Because
their actions are clean.
you've created a permissive environment. You've created a gang.
Yeah.
Like,
And they can be reassigned. Every single
you
one.
want to talk about thugs in America? Look at our police departments.
Mm-hmm.
They are acting like criminal organizations.
And should be charged with racketeering.
Yeah. And there's a lot going wrong there. But no, some of our worst offenders over time end up being part of police departments. And what you ultimately end up seeing is this, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah, that's illegal.
Mm-hmm. No.
Permissiveness of fellow officers
Mm-hmm.
that then ultimately, like, an officer that is kneeling on top of someone's neck in front of 3 other officers didn't just happen that day.
No.
It wasn't a one-off event. It was the one that got put on camera and shown to America.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the one. There is a massive list of people that have been murdered by officers for no clear reason.
Right. And they should not be carrying a badge. This officer in 2008 should have been stripped of his badge, thrown out of the fraternal order, stripped of his pension, and told to go work the security guard at Big Lots.
If even.
Yeah.
If even. No, sorry, no. 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 Not even. No, not even. No.
Well, the other thing that I should be immediately put into here is these officers, if you don't live in that neighborhood, you don't get to work that beat.
That would be a very interesting take on it. And what has often been pointed out within kind of the institutional side of racism and institutional discrimination is you end up with entire communities that effectively are shut out of a lot of different opportunities because of longstanding racism.
Yeah.
That, you know, it's not like 1964, 1965, a switch flipped. And it's like, oh, okay, well, you know, slavery's over and we now have civil rights. So suddenly everything got better.
No, it didn't.
No. You still have the legacy of discrimination. You still have the legacy of slavery influencing people today.
Yeah.
That, you know, we're talking about it, you know, this Boulder effect of wealth and education and opportunity that effectively is like saying, okay, you know, we're judging everyone for the same race. There's a beautiful video about it that explains it, you know, very clearly. But we're acting like everyone's starting on the same line and it has all the same opportunities. No, we're talking about, like, if you're like looking at a track meet, you know, a lovely little circle. There's a start line that's also your finish line, and you go around that circle. We're not just talking about the person running the outside circle is running a slightly longer race than everyone else. We're talking about the fact that part of our country is in the parking lot. Part of our country is 3 blocks away. And we're still going, oh, but you have the same opportunity to win that race as everyone else.
Right. But my point is when an officer
3 blocks away, that's where you're starting me?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I've got to overcome.
Yeah, but my point is when an officer has to deal with people that he sees on a regular basis, that he talks to on a regular basis, that he knows what's going on in the neighborhood because he's there, we have less chance of racism.
Well, moreover, and I think what one would typically run into is that when you are integrated with the community that you are working in, you have to face these people at PTA meetings. You have to run into people at the grocery store. You have to go to church with these people.
Right.
That this is your community.
Right.
And it's the same thing we run into with corporations. You know, that when we're talking about a corporation that is based out of New York or San Francisco or somewhere else that has an office here and an office there and an office there, that company is not part of that community. They could care less about those people. They're issuing corporate on high decisions.
Right.
You know, that they do not interact with the people that they are laying off. Right. They don't interact with the people whose insurance they just took away.
Right.
They're not interacting with these people and these communities that they employ.
Right.
You know, how is that ever going to work out well for a functional interaction. And so, no, when you have a police department that has nothing to do with your community except we're going to show up and work a shift and go deal with these people that, we've been hired, 20 miles away from where we live and where we shop and where, family lives and where we go to church and where we go work out at the gym and where we on and on and on.
Right.
Then no, you have a massive problem waiting to happen, because it is way easier to see that community as an other.
Right. We have a super problem with that. We have a super problem, and this is even in West Virginia. Heck, this is even in Oak Hill. The officers here don't live here. The officers for another town live here. They sit at the same spot every night. It's like they should just create a little office space on 19 where they're at.
And then there are still communities that it's like, good luck if you have a problem. We ain't showing up. Good luck if you have an emergency. We're not going to be there.
Right.
Because we don't like your neighborhood.
Right. Very much so.
Yeah.
Totally insane.
And even our local police department has had issues recently.
Yeah.
Like, we've covered that on Mountain Bears. This was another story we covered in our backyard. That it's just, how does this keep happening?
Well, it keeps happening because their training is military training for 6 weeks. There is no sociology training. There is no psychology training. There is no how to deal with human training. This is the law. This is how you operate a gun. This is how you take down a human. This is what an arrest is. Oh, by the way, you got to make this speech when you do it.
Yeah.
Memorize the speech.
Well, as well as, you're not going to benefit in your career based on how many problems you diffuse.
Right.
You're going to advance in your career by how many cases you solve, how many arrests you make, how many tickets you write, how many, you're not serving a community. Like, it's a joke.
Right. I'm tired of him just being fired.
Yeah.
Like the one here, he was just fired. He was terminated. His union is currently fighting for his job back. He'll probably get it back. No.
At least get the ability to move to another community and do it again. And move to another community and do it again. And move to another community. Like, our worst police officers are literally being moved around the same way the Catholic Church handles pedophile priests.
Yeah.
Is, okay, alrighty, we're going to deal with this problem. We're just going to move the problem over here.
Yeah.
To a community that has no clue what has happened. And, oh, by the way, God forgives you.
Exactly.
What?
So, point blank, my opinion, the proper action for the police force here should have been making an announcement that the whole department was going to go through sensitive training.
Yeah.
Yeah. And gender studies training.
That's the minimum. But also, I think there's a big problem with police forces not wanting to admit there's a problem.
Right.
Like, it's a blind eye issue. Is like, we don't want to know. We don't want to know. Like, we know if we know, it's gonna be bad.
Right.
There's no way around it. It's gonna be bad. We know it's gonna be bad. So if we get into this at all, we're gonna find out that this is a very deep rabbit hole.
Yeah.
It's gonna go for many miles, and we have far more problems than we can fix.
Right.
And especially at the rate of pay that we're hiring at. because I will say that for officers, that many for our local police departments, not making very good money.
Guess what? Nurses aren't either, and they have to go through that training.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm not arguing the training aspect.
Yeah.
I'm just arguing that when we sit here and talk about finding people that will be good fit for communities and a valuable asset for law enforcement and community interaction,
Mm-hmm.
we're paying at a level in which it's a coin toss between, like basic clerical,
Right.
like, not to be rude, but what caliber of people do you think you're going to get?
Right.
Like, you're not going to get well-educated, well-rounded, in highly valuable, intelligent human beings out of this.
Well,
That's
I think
a lot of money.
Right, but you've got the raw material. Redesign their programs, educate them more, force them into education, and have a no tolerance policy. Point blank, you're fired, your career is over, you are done. If a nurse misgives a medication or makes a comment that should not be made in front of a patient, she's terminated. Her license is gone, her career is gone.
Well, but then again,
we're military police.
But we're comparing two different fields and the approach. And more so, we're bringing up a bigger question. Is nursing is a caring profession. And so there is an assumptive level of what's appropriate and inappropriate.
Right.
Meanwhile, policing is seen as a boys' club, a rough and tumble boys' club, as a anything kind of goes rough and tumble boys' club. That it's supposed to be, celebratory of, aggressiveness.
It needs,
and it is. But it brings up a big question of, is that, I get that you need a certain level of aggressiveness to do the job appropriately and effectively and pursue a suspect. I get that, and a dogged determination. What I don't get is, have we stopped to realize how much different policing could be if it had more of a caring aspect to it?
Well, when we look at other countries, we look at England, we look at China, we look at India. These police forces, they ain't seen nothing yet in this United States. Compared to the training, compared to the communities they have to deal with. If this had happened in India, there'd be women with flip-flops beating that man to death.
Okay.
Quite sure of it. Like, they beat the rapist and the policeman with flip-flops. When he was transporting from one jail to another.
No, well, and ultimately where we're at is, this is a problem that's gone on unchecked for way too long.
Yes.
And it is a problem that has unfortunately become so normalized.
Right.
That, it's a little shocking when you finally see a group of people have enough. Like, this is it. We're not doing anymore.
Right.
That, one, it's gotten so blatant, obvious, and beyond belief that's it. We're done collectively as a society. We are done. But moreover, the fact that this low-level form of racism, or this silent racism is what I should be saying, that's been going on, has been so communally accepted that we have entire groups of people that are like, oh, well, you know, rioting is just so horrible.
Bullshit.
You didn't fucking listen to anything else.
Yeah.
Like, you know, please, sir, I'd like to live.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't enough for you.
Right. Exactly.
You
so
expected
on that point. We hope you've enjoyed our show. If you've made it all this far, please put some likes, some subscribes, some comments in the bottom. This is never a one-way conversation. We always want to hear your feedback. If you got a news story you want us to cover, you want to get my viewpoint or Techy Joe's viewpoint on it, send it to us. Hit that contact, that communicate. We will definitely talk about it, bring it up. You can reach me at aesonknight.com. You can find out more about us at PCSnetwork.com. And, you know, we want to thank our supporters, especially Beverly Walker, who's our Patreon supporters. Be sure to check out our Patreon program. We are going to be ramping it over the next couple months, adding a few more things to it. Be safe, be kind, and take care of yourselves because nobody else is fucking doing it. Night, y'all.
If you didn't get it from the show this evening, Black Lives Matter. Good night.
Good night.